evening, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you're tuning in from. I'm going to give like a 3 minutes thereabouts to get people to join in, and then would officially comment. So please just bear with us a bit. Thank you. Okay, beautiful. It's 3:05. I think it's fair enough to give persons 5 minutes to join in. So whoever is here to join in would most likely join in while we begin. Okay, so yet again, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, depending on wherever you're, joining us from. You're welcome to the Farm Setup webinar. Farm Setup webinar is hosted by the Snag Inspector. Snag Inspector is a media arm of our parent company, Spacecube Development Limited. So Spacecube Development Limited is a designed to build construction company, but you get to hear more about that much later. My name is Bridget, my name is Bridget Funomdawa. I am the customer service success officer. Please don't mind me. I'm the customer success officer for Snag Inspector and also for Spacecube Development Limited. And I am so thrilled to, be your anchor for today's webinar. Today, basically, we're going to be exploring the, exciting world of agricultural construction. So like I said, we're a construction company. But one thing that stands out for us is that we don't just go into we're not just, given to the cliche of buying land and, keeping and, just allowing it to lay fallow. So as I was saying, we're not just given to the cliche of buying lands and just keeping and, waiting for it to, accumulate and, to make much more money. Basically, that's not what we are given to. Our mantra in Spacecube Development Limited is creating spaces for the future. And basically, it's not just in the construction world. That's why you heard me say agricultural construction. So one of the things we're going to be doing in this webinar is basically introducing you, to our farm setup arm. I'm just not going to waste time. So I'm going to bring up the Snag Inspector himself. So the Snag Inspector is going to be taking us through basically what the farm setup is all about. So good evening, good afternoon, good morning once again. Snag Inspector, over to you, sir.
Farm setup series. We are you can go to the next slide. Yes, so we're a real estate development and construction company. We believe strongly in intelligent land use, which we have said before. Bridget has mentioned that. And as a matter of principle, we tend to encourage our customers who have acquired land. I mean, Spacecube Development Limited was founded in 2018, even though we started, earlier than that, officially with the CAC 2018. And we began to help people acquire land, process their documentation, set up farms. We've set up about 4 farms successfully, and we have also helped people to do other things that add value. Please, next slide. So what are the specific areas where we seek to help people add value? Number one, mixed use and high value residences. So let me just start by saying that in subsequent Snag Inspector videos, for those of us who follow, you'll be seeing some of my videos where I'll be talking more about how we are not using our land efficiently. A simple example is a place like Lagos State, where you have places where you have densely populated places and you still see bungalows and duplexes. We are not optimizing our land. Okay. Now, I have given people some counsels. Some of them have taken this, where we advise people to build hostels around, tier 1 federal or state universities where people can afford rent, and then rather than just building houses to rent. So these are just some of the examples. I'm not going to break it down because that's not what we're here for. Commercial uses such as warehouses, food hubs, markets, these are ways we add value to land rather than, again, just permit me to use the word lazily selling land, which is what we are a bit used to. We need to do more than selling land. We need to actually add value to land. The other thing another example anyway is mining, stones for construction, for example, sand, laterite, those kinds of things, and of course precious gems rather, as well as manufacturing. Manufacturing is tied to agriculture. So for example, if we look at the product that we sent in our video, that we have in the video we shared to last weekend, tomatoes. If you have 50,000 hectares of tomatoes, you can definitely imagine that tomato paste, Mr. Lawale will be talking about that, but you can imagine that if you can do 50,000 hectares of tomato, you will definitely begin to be able to manufacture tomato paste and associated products, ketchup and the likes, and then you can talk about exportation. That is also attached to the land use for agriculture. And for example, of course, we all remember the story I shared in the video where I talked about a client a customer who wanted to set up an estate, just build. And I said, no, why not let us keep, because that farm is actually close to town. Okay, it's not too far from the center of Abeokuta where it is located. And so after about maybe 5 to 10 years, it may not be practicable to still have a farm in that location, but it would have added so much value to the to that land, such that when he's ready to set up an estate, it would be it would be extremely valuable. Then of course tourism, such as parks and gardens. A very interesting example. There are a few examples. We have water parks right now developing. There's one new one in Abuja. There's another one that was popular in Lagos last year. They were temporarily shut down, but thankfully they've reopened. They've met up with all the regulations. I'm sure some of you saw the video I did on it. So parks and gardens are an interesting way to use land. So people should, our goal is to help people to see the other ways to use land, see the other ways to develop land. We need to use our land better in simple English, okay? So that would be that. Please, let's go forward. So yes, why farm ownership? I'll take a bit of time on this. Now, food inflation in Nigeria, these are statistics, and that's why we attached these headlines. Food inflation is 35%, which in simple mathematics means if you bought something 100 naira last year, in January this year, you are buying it at 135 naira. And of course, it's even more than that. We can all tell some things have doubled, some things have tripled or quadrupled. But basically, you're not buying at the same rate. What is the reason for that? Again, Mr. Wale will share some of these insights, but I would say, of course, we are all familiar with the fact that there are security issues. There are a lot of issues, transport, bad roads, and we all know of the other issues that are there. Beyond that, there is the fact that we are not producing enough food. We are simply not producing enough food. And that is across all the spectrums of all crops, cash crops and food crops. Another interesting statistic is that Nigerians are spending as much as 60%. Nigerians are spending as much as 60% of their income on food. Now, this there are some experts who say 60, some say 50 something, whatever it is. Well, in this meeting, maybe a number of us don't spend that much because we're probably middle or high income earners, but the average Nigerians who earns about 100,000 naira, there's no way you feed yourself with less than 20,000 naira in Nigeria today if you are going to eat fairly well. All right, so a person who is on minimum wage of 30,000 is obviously spending way above that. So we spend up to 60%. The solution again is to produce more food. And the example of China, I won't be able to delve into details, but China, one of the ways that China became what they became is not, they didn't immediately start producing phones and cars and technology that we all know them for, but first of all, by producing more food. They started first of all by producing more food in their rural areas. And once you can eliminate rural poverty, so for us, we see it as a corporate duty. So we're not just seeing this as money making for everyone. Of course, it's going to lead to shared wealth for everyone who participates in this, but we're seeing this as a national duty. Please, can you all hear me better? Can you? All right, thank you. So I was told I needed to speak louder. Thank you. So that's how China became what they became. You feed the people well. When you feed them, then you can get them to invest, to do tech and all of that. So we have to take this as our responsibility. So we're not just doing this because we want to make money. Of course, we want to make money, but we're also trying to reduce the poverty around. Please let's move to the next slide. Thank you. And so we have a unique solution. So what is our unique solution to this problem or these problems that we have highlighted? Number one is farm setup and management for those who already have land or those who want to acquire theirs. Number two is joining our cooperative society, that's the Rainy Day Cooperative Society, to set up a farm estate. So that will be, Mr. Funshaw will speak about that next, but let me quickly touch on the first item. Farm setup and management for those who already have land or those who want to acquire their own land. In very simple terms, the 3-4 farms that I said we helped to set up in our few years of existence, we were called in to help with the physical infrastructure, do all of those things, and then help with management consultants. And that's what we are going to do for you. So let's say you have 10, you have 10 acres somewhere, 5 acres somewhere, or you want to set up yours. We either help you to acquire the land or you already have it acquired, and we'll help you to plan your farm in terms of the physical infrastructure and the labor you're going to need. Some of us don't know some of the challenges we faced, and that's why Mr. Shegun is going to talk about it. A very simple challenge that I would let you know is if you are setting up a farm in Southwest, you are going to find it hard to find farm hands. And this is one of the things that we have learned over the past 6 years of operation, where we were able to find farm hands some from outside Nigeria, some from northern Nigeria, and all of that. So those details will be entered in, but the point is that we are able to help you with management, and then we can get into actually building up the farm. Mr. Funshaw would take over from there. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much for shedding light on, first off, what the farm setup is all about. If I would add a little detail, for persons that saw the video that we put on our platform sometime last week, the idea for us is that we do not just want you to and just keep them, let them just lay fallow. It's one of the things that we just basically looked into the food security in the country, particularly in the Southwest, and we decided to come up with this such that we are able to maximize the lands that we are purchasing and also solve the problem of food security in our nation. Also, right about now, I'm going to be bringing up Mr. Olufunsho Akinsoya. He's the president of Rainy Day Cooperative, but aside that, he's also my boss, basically. Yes, he's also a co-founder of our construction company, the Spacecube Development Limited. So he's basically going to be shedding more light on the Rainy Day Cooperative. That's basically for persons that do not have large, chunks of lands, or who do not have the finance or resource at the moment to purchase land. Mr. Olufunsho, over to you, sir.
Thank you, Bridget. It's a pleasure to be here. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are listening to us from. And if you are not listening live at any point in time, you are listening to us in the future, top of the day to you. And I hope we meet you well today. So to the point, like Bridget said, I am a director at Spacecube Development Limited, and the vision is to create spaces for the future. One of the things that we pride ourselves for is that we are the Julius Berger for everyday people, which means we come to every project with quality in mind. However, this time I will be speaking as I'm sharing our website with you as I speak for Rainy Day Cooperative Limited. We are licensed by Lagos State. We just got our license last month, and we've been working with them over the last couple of months since last year. And one of the things that we have discovered is that the key to sustainable prosperity is collective prosperity. When, like the Holy Book says, when one will chase 1,000, then two will put to flight 10,000. How much more if 100 people decide to go after a thing? And I remember that even from our Sunday school lessons, the only time that God could not conquer men was when they came together. And it is not to say that we are becoming rebellious to divine order of things, but we have seen the advantage of coming together. And the key point for us is that as you listen to the teachings today, the stories, and all of that, the key things for us is collective prosperity. You join us and you save consistently. In our case, we save in USD, save consistently for the long term. Money that you can, as I say to our people, money that you can conveniently misplace every month and you will not cry and you will not have high blood pressure. I think you should save that money. There's a certain amount, maybe you can have 200,000 every month. You should save it. And when you save it, it becomes a proof of fund to collectively for us to bargain with governments and institutions. As I speak with you, over the last 1 year, we've been working with a university in Ogun State towards setting up a farm estate. And that's part of why we are offering anyone here, when you join us, you can also invest in the farm estate. We have already done a lot of work, which you will be piggybacking on, which is the point of cooperatives. And again, one of the things that we have known is that cooperatives are one of the most effective and efficient tax compliant vehicles in Nigeria and in most countries around the world. Whatever money you're putting in a cooperative, it is assumed that it has already been taxed before, and therefore government is more lenient with you. It's 100% legit. Another point would be that you do not have to resign from your daily hustle. Say you are an accountant, or you are a lawyer, or you are a tech bro, or you are a civil servant, whatever you do, or you don't even live in the country. I know persons here who are not in Nigeria at the moment. You do not have to leave what you are doing to come and set up a farm. If in the case of you trying to set it up alone, you are going to bring your own skills, your relationships. So for example, if we are going to do something in Titi Ologunagba's village, if she's part of us, she doesn't have to stop her day job as a professor. She just has to say, oh, I know the Oba of that village. I will tell them you are my people, and I am also an investor. And that suddenly makes things easier for us. As against she alone, or myself alone, or Bridget alone, going into that village and trying to figure things out by ourselves. So that's one of the things that you'll be getting. And you would gain from everybody's effort. And by the laws of it, you will get to share dividend at the end of the year. We would also build on our capital base, because legally you're supposed to retain a certain amount of money in the cooperative purse to grow your capital base. So you're having all of the advantages of working with people to achieve common goals. In this case, setting up a farm estate. And I remember that one of our Chinese friends told me that if you want to produce crops in Nigeria, do not produce less than 100 hectares. Why? I'm sure that many of us here have seen times when you passionately go and start a farm, but you don't have what it takes to sustain the ongoing requirements of that farm. When you set up a farm estate as part of a collective, you can de-risk that aspect. When you are tired, everybody, the 99 or 999 other people who are part of that investment are not going to be tired. You are going to be leaning on our strengths. We are going to be leaning on your own unique strengths. And that's another major point. And as I wrap up, you will get access to networks. So someone like Wale is a member of the cooperative who will be speaking after me, and several other people. They are all professionals in their spaces, and they will be bringing in their own expertise to ensure success. So at that level, and part of what I have done in my experience is also deploy technology into business environments. So when you put technology into what we are doing, and we also bring all our experience, you're able to monitor your project from anywhere across the world without leaving what you are doing, and also tapping into the economies of scale. So I leave you today to say you should consider, even if you have all the money in the world to buy 1 million hectares or whatnot, if you know that you're not going to actively be able to manage your farm as we go, please consider joining us for the two reasons I have mentioned: for collective prosperity, one; two, for synergy. The things that we are doing, you will benefit, and you would also bring in your own unique abilities into the place. Then as you save, you will also get access to your savings down the line. I mean, for example, in the last couple of weeks, I have spoken to myself and the ESCOs of Rainy Cooperative. We have spoken to at least 10 financial institutions looking for the best deal for the savings of our members. I am sure that most people on this call do not invest that much energy to scrutinize what banks are telling them for their investments. But when you join us, you would take advantage of that detailed research that we have done. I mean, every one of them has sent us detailed proposals. I'm sure that banks don't send you detailed proposals when you want to save your money. So thank you, everyone. I would leave you and to the capable hands of Bridget and other speakers, and I'll be standing by for questions. Thank you.
Questions. We are going to give time to respond to questions. If you could just forward your questions as a direct message to me, and address them appropriately, so that we do not waste much speaking. He mentioned the fact that we consult with the very, very best to our farm setup, particularly when it comes to the kind of crop that we can, invest maximum, that would give us maximum produce and maximum that effect. I'm going to be welcoming Mr. Ola, economist with Agropreneur Nigeria, is our lead. So over to you, Mr.
Thank you, Bridget. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining in. It's really nice to be able to speak to us about something that is quite important to everyone on this call, whether we are a consumer or a grower, as the case might be. And why do we say it is important? Snag Inspector gave us a bit of a background showing the inflation numbers and how we need to spend so much on food. The challenges are quite complex, and we cannot begin to mention the various effects it is having on us as families, as a nation, and as people. Just to put into perspective, when we say that we have a food insecurity challenge, I would like to give the examples of 3 crops. The first will be cocoa. For those who have been following the news, it's been quite exciting for cocoa farmers. Oh, a ton of cocoa is now over 1 million naira, and probably some of us are already even thinking of venturing in that crop. But I give you a practical example. In Cote d'Ivoire today, a farmer would get about 1.2 metric tons. That's about 1,200 kg of cocoa from 1 hectare. And here in Nigeria, somebody would probably be getting only about 400 kg. So it means that for one farmer in Nigeria to get the same value of products and revenue, he would need to do ×3 of what somebody in Ivory Coast is doing. That is one crop. Another one will be corn, for example. When we compare our productivity in corn, we sit on about 5 million hectares of corn in Nigeria. Averagely, a farmer is doing just 3,000 kg of per hectare. So if we do the maths, we are probably about 15 million tons of corn from Nigeria. But then when you compare with a place like South Africa, that same 1 hectare, a grower in South Africa will probably be between like 5 tons. And South Africa sits on half of the acreage of land that we have. So when you look at our production, we are quite very low. We cannot meet our demand. Whether it is for export or for local consumption, we have a productivity challenge. And that is why anyone who decides to venture into agriculture needs to do it right. And it's been proven that production at scale with the right technologies is what will really help to be able to achieve this. And so in the collaborations that we are having with the SNAG inspector, we are proposing two angles of going about it. You either come and join others and sit on a farm estate and produce, or you can choose to say, oh, I have the resources, I have my own land, come and set it up for me. So what would you want to consider when you are deciding what crop you would like to grow? The first thing that I always ask is this: what does that crop answer to? Are you trying to solve a local consumption problem? Are you trying to export? Are you trying to attend to nutrition? You need to be able to answer that question for yourself. It's not just about, oh, I hear everybody is growing this crop, so I want to do it. You need to ask yourself, what is that crop answering to? So if we take a crop like corn, for example, you think about, oh, fresh market. You think about the feed industry. You think about humanitarian work. So countries where there's war or unrest, corn is usually bought and taken as donations to such countries. Then you start to think about exports. The West African region is one where there's a lot of food exports. Food moves from Nigeria to places like Ghana, Togo, and vice versa. So you're asking yourself, what does this crop answer to? Next is there a market? Is there a market locally? Is there a market regionally I'm targeting? Is there a market outside the country that I'm targeting? Another important question you want to ask yourself is to say, am I having a lot of time and patience? So the fact, if you want quick returns, not exactly miracle money, but you will not compare the time somebody who grows a crop like cucumber would wait, the time such a person will wait, with somebody who does something like oil palm. So if we start an oil palm venture today, from seeding to the first harvest, we are talking about a 2-year cycle. You need to seed, you need to get them to seedling stage, you need to then go and plant them on the field, and then wait for them to mature and start giving you the fruits. You can't compare that with somebody who is growing cucumbers, who probably in 40, 45 days is doing his first harvest. So how much patience do you have? How much time do you have? What is the size of land that you also have? You cannot It wouldn't make economic sense, for example, to decide to say, oh, I have 2 plots of land and I want to do oil palm on 2 plots of land. No. For you to actually max out, it's better you have at least 50, 25 acres at minimum for such a crop. Same applies to things like cashew, like cocoa. Again, another important question when it comes to market is, are you producing for the local market or you are producing for export? So I give you an example. There's a farm in Benin City who grow habanero, what we commonly call atarodo, but they do not grow the habanero to be consumed in Nigeria. They grow, they pack, and they export. And what that means is that everything they do is influenced. The type of fertilizers they use, the type of crop treatments that they give, the way they will package, even the seeds they will use is influenced by this. And then lastly is to ask yourself, am I adding value or am I just going to produce and sell? So case in question, if I will be producing tomato and processing into puree or tomato paste, then I'm adding value. That also influences the level of investment, the location of my farm. Am I going to have the processing facility seated on the farm? If yes, or if no, how far away should my processing facility be from the farm? How much production am I able to achieve by myself? Will I need to buy from other growers? Or would I need to influence other people to grow around me so that we can feed the processing plant? Another common crop that we can think about when it comes to processing is chili, so your dried pepper. So you need to look at all of these things, and this would influence the kind of crops that you would choose to decide to invest in. Next slide, please. And so for a first run or as a pilot, we have decided that vegetable will be the most economically viable venture to start off with. One is to serve as a proof of our concept to people that will decide to do or engage with us. Two is also to reduce the burden of the long waiting period. And when we think about what drives our decision, first of all is when you think about it, I'm not sure there's anyone here who in one day would not have a meal that has tomato or pepper or some vegetables, no matter what part of the country you come from. Secondly is also the short-term return on investment. So like I mentioned, you have a crop like cucumber that from 45 days, you can begin to harvest, sell, and means you can begin to have your return on investment. For a crop like tomato, we are talking about a 90-120-day cycle. For things like onions, it's also about the same. Pepper, 120 days. Even when you do things like watermelon, it's 60 days. All of this provides a short cycle where people can begin to reap the reward of their investment and begin to also save for something that is long-term. It also would mean that we will be answering to people's nutritional needs. A lot of people now pay attention to wanting to eat fruits, smoothies, and the likes to keep healthy. And some of the things that will be produced here would also be meeting to that need. Of course, there is a market. If you ever are someone that goes to like a Mile 12 or you go to Kara Market, which is close to Lagos, or if you are living in a place like Ibadan, if you go to Akinyele or Eleyele, you would see that at every point in time, there are trucks, J5s, coming in with these products, and they are being bought. That's woman on your streets who you go and buy the small big tomatoes or peppers or the likes in beets, has a bigger market he or she goes to. And whatever we produce on our farm estates will definitely be able to answer to this. Apart from the market, there's also an opportunity. The Nigeria statistics shows that 45% of tomato that is produced goes to waste. We know the reason why these things happen, and we have the solution to it. It is as simple as, first of all, the kind of tomatoes that you grow. So what if we tell you that we have a tomato that you can carry from Kano to Lagos, to and fro, and it will still be firm? I'm sure you'll be excited to have that tomato on your table. So which means that if you buy that kind of tomato and you put it in your kitchen, on your fridge, you are guaranteed 14 to 21 days without it getting spoiled. And that is one very key step to reducing food wastage. We also would be having cold storage facilities to help to preserve whatever is produced, ensuring that as much as possible, what we are producing will get to the market. So there's an huge opportunity when it comes to that. Of course, there's also the high-end market, hotels, restaurants, who would need specific types of vegetable crops. Imagine you talk about aubergine, eggplants, ladyfinger okras, which are used for specific delicacy. And when you look at capital cities like Lagos, Ibadan, Abuja, these are crops that are in high demand and people are ready to pay value for it. So growing such crops on the farm estates will also help to guarantee return on investment for any of those who are interested in joining us. And again, when we look at our consumption pattern, for us to be the third largest importer of tomato paste, it means there's an opportunity in that sector. Just on Ibadan Expressway, end of last year, there's a new factory there that is targeted at producing tomato paste. I'm sure that we can answer to their market needs in producing tomato that can also feed that facility. So it's a huge opportunity that exists. We know the markets, we have the technology, we know the know-how, and this is what we'll be bringing on board for those of us that will be interested in joining in these farm estates. Next slide, please. So just to give you a glimpse of the technical bit of what we will bring in on board, is to that, yes, this might be technical jargons, but they form the foundation of what we will be doing. Bringing on board the right genetics, the right plant population, the nutrition expertise, irrigation, and overall technical know-how on how to produce this crop and achieve yields that are marketable. Our targets, for example, in a crop like tomato, is about 40 metric tons per hectare. When you look at that, that is about 1,600 crates of tomato. If you work with an average price of 10,000 naira per crate, it's a revenue of about 16 million naira. The cost of investment on that same land, bearing cost of leasing land and the likes, is probably about 5 to 6 million. So when agriculture is actually done right, it is indeed a venture that can give us good reward. It's worth investing in and putting our money. And this is what we want to collectively do together to be able to answer to, first, the food insecurity issues, and also to ensure that we are making money in our own pockets collectively. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Olawale Ojo. Like I mentioned earlier, for those that didn't hear me, Mr. Olawale Ojo is an agronomist with Agropreneur Nigeria and is our lead crop management consultant, meaning that if you are choosing to invest with us or if you are choosing for us to consult for you as regards your farm setup, then you are going to, at one point or the other, be working directly with him. If you have questions for him or questions for any of the previous speakers, like I said earlier, please just drop your questions in the chat, and then we're going to respond to them much later. Now we're going to be having, I'm sorry we are cutting this short. We really want to, maximize our time, and we also do not want to waste your time. So right now we're going to be having Mr. Olusegun Oshundino. So Mr. Olusegun Oshundino is the supervising manager for Baker Industry Limited. Baker Industries Limited, they are the owners of Bakerverse Farm. So if you watched our video last week, we told you that we helped the farm set up. The farm was this particular farm, Bakerverse Farm. So Mr. Olusegun Oshundino is basically going to be giving us a witness story of how Bakerverse Farm evolved. So over to you, Mr. Olusegun. I'm going to unmute you right about now.
Okay. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone, depending on your location. Just like the host said, my name is Olusegun Oshundino, and I'm representing Baker Industries Limited. So my summary is going to be very short. I just want to talk about the practicality of things as the Eden State witness story. So we worked with the stakeholders of Spacecube. Most importantly, for Baker Industries Limited, we wanted to solve uh, global food crisis because we had just recently acquired huge plots of land, but we are not really in the business of lazily leaving lands, as they said earlier, just waiting for it to appreciate. There's a lot more you can still do. You can add value and even gain much more value. So it's more like a win-win situation. We're trying to have a form of integrated real estate and farm, setup going on. So when we got the property, the initial plan was the long-term plan was real estate, but we need something to come in for short-term and medium term. That was why the idea of the farm came up. And one of the most important things for majority of Nigerians in diaspora and Nigerians in Nigeria or in other places is that when you're about to start with the old farm setup, you need to get capable ends. Now I know a lot of people with deep pockets, they have actually invested over hundreds of millions of naira in farm, but at the end of the day, they keep losing everything. So setting up farm is not just about having the money alone, right? You'll be surprised how much more your, let's say, 10, 20, or 30 million naira can do, or in most cases can even surpass someone that has 100 million if you don't have the capable ends, right? So everything was born out of, the orientation that we need to optimally maximize the resources that we have, And I'm glad that we consulted the key holders and the stakeholders of this good company. And I think that was around 2022. And the farm has been doing extremely well. And one of the most important things, I was even amazed myself because I thought setting up farm was very easy. It's not that easy, do you understand? But if you get the right hands to actually do the work, they make everything very, very easy for you. One of the major things that will constitute a problem is getting farm hands. So if you are not well invested in this, if you don't have the knowledge of expertise, because I am originally, a project person, proper real estate, 100%, it becomes very, very difficult to try to maneuver, right? You can have your workers just go away mid-season. How do you get workers to come in? So if you are doing all of those things individually and independently, they can constitute, a whole lot of issues for you. Then another thing, I think I've talked about the lack of expertise, farm ends, and another thing setting up similar farm could do for you is at the back of your mind, you know that something is coming in for you, what I call sustainable passive income. You understand? Come rain, come shine. People have to eat every day. Just like the previous speaker said, every day you have to take a meal that has tomato in it. And the demand is the demand is unbelievable, right? If you have 100 million naira worth of produce, let's say vegetables, you get your money max 24 hours, right? If you take it to the markets I've mentioned, we have my 12 markets, we have a whole lot of other markets. So even in Lagos, when you look at the demography and the categorization, majority of us are consumers. We don't really produce much. I can count on my hand the number of farms we have in like proper Lagos. You understand? So that is why it makes more sense for a lot of people to come in and partner with the right ends. That's the most important thing because it saddens my heart when people just it has happened a lot. I've seen a lot of farm fail. That was why one of the first things we needed to do was get the direction very, very right. Once you've gotten the direction right, every other thing becomes very, very easy. So let me just talk a little bit about numbers, although they are kind of confidential, but I'll just share in terms of annualized ROI because we went big to get all the property plant equipment based on advice we've gotten from the team and all of that. So if you are coming in as part of a cooperative or just like someone said, the best way to achieve, let's say, financial success or to lay that foundation for generational wealth is doing things collectively. So if it costs me about 100 million naira to set up property plants and equipment for my farm, if you are doing it collectively, it's not going to cost you that much because everybody will now take a share of that. So it relieves a lot of people that pressure, and a lot of people can actually come in. You can also call it part of the initiative for fractional ownership of farms. You can call it that way. So in terms of percentage or analyze ROI, we've done over 100% in the first year. That's actually incredible because at the time I saw the stats that the previous speaker about an average price being 10,000 per crate. Now, sometime around last year, a bag of tomatoes during around this period, right? Because timing is everything again. But thank God we were working with the right hand. A crate of tomato was selling over 37,000 naira, and our estimate when we were doing the projection was less than 10,000. So during that period, we made close to 400% much more than we would have made, and that has covered for a lot of things. So that's why I'm saying if I was doing all these things, we were doing all these things on our own, the timing, it requires a great amount of expertise to really be able to pull these things. So a lot of investors now can reap the benefit because that is how you can actually, make your money work for you. And this year, I believe from our first harvest, because we've not made first harvest this year, we are looking at maybe ending of April or first week of May because the harvest from the first quarter, or between the first quarter and second quarter is usually very higher when it comes to prices when you take them to the markets because during that period you have dry season, it's not really raining, so price of goods are usually on the high side. And another thing I want to just point out is that food prices are always going to be on the high side. And part of the ways to mitigate these high prices, this inflation, is if you find ways, just like opportunities like this, if you find ways to join the production economy itself. So imagine I'm just a consumer and a bag of rice skyrockets from, let's say, 50,000 to 200,000 or even 300,000 within a short space. Maybe so anything could happen. Now, if I'm not in the production economy, I have to be forced to buy because I have to eat. And as the price of rice is going up, other commodities, other food items, and all of that, they are surging together with it. But in a way, if you are part of the production economy and the price of rice is going up, and let's say your tomato from 10,000 is now 50,000, you have something to leverage on because when you sell, you mitigated the inflation to a considerable extent. So I think that just sums up majority of what I want to say on how we consulted Spacecube for Baker's farms and how the farm has been doing extremely well. Extremely well. I'm not here to talk about. I'm not here to do any motivation or something, but it really exceeded our expectation, and that is why I'm always up. To let a lot of Nigerians in diaspora, a lot of Nigerians here know that you can actually make your money work for you. And the good thing is, just like the inspector said, in the next 3 years now, a plot of land where we are presently farming will be going for, I think, maybe 3 million per plot. And if the price we bought it then, I don't even want to talk much about it. So it's a perfect, I don't want to use perfect, but it's a win-win scenario, a combo of real estate and farms. Instead of you leaving your land there to just lie fallow, it's even a form of security. Do you get? Because we have issues of encroachment, issues of this, that. But if at every point you have some sort of activity going on your land that can be fetching you money, just like the previous speaker said, cucumber every 45 days, 40 to 45 days, you can be cashing out on cucumber. 90 to 100 or 110 days, you can be making money on tomatoes. So you can, bank on these things, for sustainable passive reward. So thank you very much to the host and the speakers. I don't know if there are any questions. I'll be more than happy to respond. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Olusegun. Of course, I believe there will be questions because when it comes to investments, the best way to be certain or to be sure is testimonials. So somehow I just believe that you'll be getting a lot of questions. Finally, we're going to be having just one final speaker, and then we're going to get into answering questions. We are talking money here, and it's not easy to come by money. So we also consider that, and we're bringing in the perspective of insurance. So we're going to be having Mr. Toby Pepple. He's the Assistant Agency Manager at Exam Mansard Insurance. He's going to be talking to us about insurance as it regards to farm setup. So I'm going to be unmuting you right now, sir, Mr. Toby Purple. Thank you so much. Please go ahead, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone, or good evening, as the case may be. My name is Toby Pepple, like she mentioned, and I'm from AXA Mansard Insurance. So I'm going to be speaking to us briefly today about insurance generally. So first of all, I'll be talking about who we are as a company, AXA Mansard Insurance. Okay, so we're a member of the AXA group. Please, I don't know if everyone can hear me. Please, can you confirm if everyone can hear me?
Yes,
we
can hear you.
Okay, wonderful.
Yes, we can, sir.
Wonderful, thank you. So we're a member of the AXA group. We're a global leader in insurance and asset management in the world. We are easily the #1 insurance brand worldwide. So in Nigeria, we are called the AXA Mansard Group. We're a non-bank financial services company, and we are listed on the Nigeria Stock Exchange. We are involved in various insurance segments such as life and savings, property and casualty, asset management, health management, and formerly pension management. We don't do that anymore. Our pension management is handled by Tangerine Pensions right now. We also have AXA Mansard Health, which is one of our we are definitely the leading insurance company in AXA Mansard Health, in health insurance in Nigeria, AXA Mansard Health. We have partner companies where we have our clients. Some of our clients are Total, Unilever, KPMG, GT Bank, Nestle, Seplat, Dangote, and so on and so forth. Can I have the next slide, please? Can I have the next slide? Okay. Can I have the next slide, please? Thank you. Okay, so to go into it, I'll be talking about all risks, special perils, fire, and burglary. Okay, so for agriculture, it is unique when it comes to insurance. So for right now, I'll be talking about because I listened to the conversations. You know, there's going to be a lot of money that is going to be put into people's projects. So when you're talking about a lot of money, you have to be able to plan for risk, so to say. So, and then you're going to be dealing with very expensive machinery and all of that. So I'm going to be talking about all risk, special perils, fire, and burglary first of all to start with. And in this case, I'll be talking about insuring your farm buildings, your plants, and your machinery. So what our all risk, special perils, and fire and burglary covers is that it covers loss or damage that will be caused to the farm building or to your machinery as a result of maybe fire, lightning, explosions, or in a case of maybe where you have leaking pipes or overflowing water tanks that may damage some things, your machinery or whatever you have, or some that might cause damage to the building as well, as the case may be. Also, damage caused from aircraft and other aerial devices are also covered. So basically, the way this works is that when you want to insure your property, no, you can still stay on that slide. When you want to insure, please permit me a little bit. I might stray away a bit from the slides, but I just need to explain it properly in depth for. So basically, the way this works is that on the farm, you might have your farmhouse. You definitely have your machinery and other things that you need, which is usually very expensive. So the way the process works is that when you want to insure your buildings and your machinery, you're going to give us an inventory of everything you have and then the worth of the building. You give us the list of your machinery and their value and also the worth of the building. And that's how we're going to determine. We have from the underwriting, we have an underwriting team. For machinery, it's usually about 5% of the value of the machinery, but it depends. It varies. Like I said, for agriculture, it is a bit delicate. So it is usually subject to underwriting. So you give us a list of everything you have on the farmland and the value of the property. And from there, we are going to be able to determine the premium you're going to pay for you to be covered against all these things: fire, lightning, explosions, and special perils, everything. And then also damage to the machinery. So in a case, if anything happens, we are going to compensate for the value of the machinery or the building, as the case may be, depending on what the damage is. We can move on to the next slide. Also, I'll be talking about goods in transit. So this goods in transit is an insurance policy that covers against risk associated with carrying goods from one destination to the other. I'm sure we are all very familiar with this. But in this case, in the case of agriculture, it is usually during commodity trading. So, or when you want to move your goods from one place to the other, it's when you have, it is usually worth a lot. The value of those goods are usually a lot. So most often than not, what people do is that when they want to move the products from a certain point A to point B, they make sure that it is insured, so that if there's any loss by maybe fire or accidents, or in the process, these things you can be compensated for it. Because when you're dealing with things that are worth so much value, so high value, it is not smart, so to say, to just go on with it without insuring it. So we have two types of cover when it comes to goods in transit. We have the restricted cover, which basically indemnifies you for just loss by fire, loss by accident or collisions, overturning of the conveying vehicle. That's in the process of moving the goods from point A to point B. Loss by theft, only following accidental like if there's an accident, and in the process of that accident, people come and steal the things. Maybe when you see all these trailers that are taking goods from one place to the other, and sometimes they have accidents, and you just see that people will just come and start stealing the things from the trucks. We cover for that kind of damage. Our restricted cover covers for that. And also there's also a rider to that's called comprehensive or all risk cover in the goods in transit, which it is an extended cover. Basically, it covers for loss during loading and unloading of the goods. So maybe basically when they're carrying these products, the farm products, or as the case may be, or harvest from the farm into the truck while they are loading it, if there's a loss, this covers it. Also, when they've gotten to the destination and they are unloading it, this covers. Also, it covers for general accidents or misfortune. And then also this, because it's an extended cover, it also covers for when you are storing the goods before it is being moved. So sometimes you gather the goods in a storage facility or something before the haulage can come to move it. If anything, this insurance covers so that if anything happens while in the process of this, it is covered. The damage that will happen to those goods, as the case may be, will be covered. Can we have the next slide, please? So who is goods in transit for? Manufacturers, distributors, retailers, and haulers. So I'm sure we fall into one of the categories of this as farmers. Next slide, thank you. So what we will consider for underwriting for when you want to claim your cover or when you want to extend your policy is, first of all, the type of cover that is required for underwriting. So basically, if you choose just the restricted cover, like we mentioned earlier, you only be covered for loss by fire, loss by accidental collision or overturning of the conveying vehicle, and loss by theft during an accident. If you have the comprehensive or all risk cover, you'll be covered for, you have an extended cover, like I mentioned earlier, for loss during loading and unloading, for accident or misfortune, or loss while it is being temporarily housed before transit. Also, the nature of the goods and security available for the goods. So before we can also insure you, our underwriters are going to come to your facility to check, to make sure that you're doing your own due diligence as well. Because if we are going to insure you, we have to make sure that we are not just going blindly into a loss. We have to make sure that our clients are also doing their due diligence to make sure that we are not just running into a loss. So we're going to come and make sure that to see that the nature of the goods that you have is even something we can insure if it is not too delicate or vulnerable, because there are some products that are quite delicate that the damage or loss is quite inevitable. For such goods and services, we might not be able to cover for that. We also have to make sure that security is available and all of that, so that in case, so that, like I said, just to make sure the company is doing their due diligence. Also, the limits of indemnity will also be, you'll basically be told the amount that you can claim in the case of damage to your goods or property. Also, you have to tell us before we can insure your products, you have to tell us specifically the mode of transportation that you're going to be using to move the goods from one place to another. Also, you have to tell us the distance. That will help us to consider what the premium will be that we'll give to you, and the quality of management of the company, and your claims history as well, to know whether it's something that happens to you recurrently. If it's a case that you're always getting into accidents and you're always claiming for damages, it means that to an extent the fault might be from you. So we'll be a bit skeptical in insuring you in that case. So also there are extensions to the goods in transit to cover riot, strike, and civil commotion and disappearance extension. These are riders to it. Also, I will just be speaking because it's agriculture. I don't have a slide for specific crops that we can insure. It is a bit delicate. So maybe during the question and answers, if you have questions to ask as to whether we can insure some certain crops, it is a bit delicate. So we do not have it stated out that this is a certain rate for crops. So if you want, what we can do is we can create bespoke insurance plans for certain things to be covered. So if you need any specific kind of cover that is not mentioned there for your plans, we can do it. So all you need to do is just reach out to us, and then we'll create and see how we can come in for us to cover damages to crops. But for now, what we're just going to be focusing on is the machinery and maybe buildings and all that in the farm. But in regards to the crops itself, what we can cover is just the goods in transit. But if there are some certain situations where we can create bespoke plans, so please reach out to us for more information if you need to get for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Toby Purple. Like I said earlier, he is the assistant agency manager, at AXA Manzard Insurance PLC. Thank you so much for enlightening us on insurance. And we actually did think it necessary to talk about insurance so that you know that we are taking your money very serious. Your farm setup as well, very serious. So right about now, we're going to be taking questions. We have a question already forwarded to us. If you have questions, please, questions for any of the speakers, either for the snag inspector or for our co-founder that spoke about the rainy day cooperative, or for the agronomists, or, for our witness from Bakerverse, or for the insurance company, that just gave the presentation. If you have any question whatsoever, please do well to forward to us. While we're waiting for your questions, we're going to address a few questions. I'm going to start with the question that we got from Mr. Babatunde. His question is, I'm sorry, I'm trying to locate the question. Yes, from Babatunde Ojumo. He says that, please, I need farmlands. I believe he said farmlands. Okay. Please, I need farmlands. I also want details on farm management and cooperative. Please, I need farmlands. I also want details on farm management and cooperative. I'm going to allow the snag inspectors respond to that question in 2 minutes, and then also our co-founder, Mr. Funsho Akinsoya, is going to respond to the second part of the question very quickly. So please unmute your mic and respond.
Good afternoon again. Thank you to everyone. So the question from Mr. I believe name is Ojomu. He said he needs farmland and he wants detail on farm management. So first of all, if you need farmland, we have few locations where we already have relationships, because thank God we know Nigeria is an interesting place to buy land. So that's just putting it mildly. So we have places where we get land. I mean, our witness mentioned theirs. There are also 2 other farms we've helped. In fact, we've helped people get literally hundreds of acres in the last 3 years, almost 300 or more acres of land. So this is something we have developed some expertise in. We have locations in Ogun State. Specifically, when it comes to farming, we have places we recommend. We would give you some of those details when you consult us in person. However, I would just give you the areas. So as we know, security is one of the major challenges of farming in Nigeria. So there are states that we do not intend to farm in for now. So we will not sell you land in some parts of Oyo State. We will not sell you land in some parts of Ondo State. But there are places where we are very comfortable with. Even in some parts of Ogun State, they're close to the boundary between international border, I mean. However, when we look at places within Ogun, what we call Ogun Central Senatorial District, Obafemi Owode local government, where we have, then we have the Remo North, Remo South local government, part of Ijebu. There are those places. Number one, they are close enough to your market, because obviously if I was to recommend, I would recommend proximity to market as one of the factors that would help. And so if you are farming somewhere in Abeokuta, farming somewhere not too far from Owe, for those who are familiar with Lagos, or for those of you who may be up north, if you are farming somewhere in Kuje, yes, Kuje also has 1 or 2, but we have our ways around managing the security issues there. And we also have farms those farms are through Bakerverse farms, which Mr. Shegun represents. So they also have farms in those locations. So we have states and places where we have those, and then you just in your personal consultation session explain to us. That's number one. So for management, again, it will be very specific to each farm. For some farms, they may want us to, there may be details for each farm. For some farms, that will not apply to others. For some, for example, if you've already documented your land, we don't have to document it for you. It is important to document your land, because when we are talking about insurance, all of these documents will be required. You cannot say they should insure a farm that legally does not belong to you, for example. So we'll answer some of these in detail in our personal sessions. So you can reach out to Bridget via the phone number dropped. Of course, there's also a form down there where everyone can add their information, and then we can reach out to you on a one-on-one basis. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Snag Inspector. Yeah, so like you rightly said, a link was dropped on the comments, the chat box. Please do well to fill out that form so that we can have your personal information, and you can also reach us directly and send us your questions. Peradventure, you do not, have them, together at the moment. 2 questions were dropped on the group. I think one has been addressed, but I would still want Mr. Funsho Akinsoya to respond to that question and also the other part of the first question that was asked. Over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Bridget. I see that someone asked how did they join? What's the minimum amount for the cooperative? So we have pegged the minimum amount to $10 per month, which will be your membership savings. And by the global rule of cooperatives, at least even in Nigeria, and under the laws of Lagos State where we are licensed, every member must have a monthly amount that they save, which is your proof of continuous membership. And that will be retractable or retrievable, as the case may be, when you want to stop being a member or for some other reasons. I mean, you can wipe your entire savings away and pack it and go use it to do something else when you want to leave the cooperative, or it begins to earn interest for you on an ongoing basis as long as you're a member of the cooperative. And so the advantage is that if you take, for example, $100 every month to the bank will offer you maybe 1%. But if you bring your $100 and 100 other people bring their $100 together, that's $10,000. The bank suddenly then says, oh, look, we won't offer you 1% again. They can shift it and say, we'll offer you 2.5%. So by the virtue of coming together, and I'm sure some of the people here work in banks, and you see that the more money you have, the more interest you can negotiate for. So as a collective, your membership savings, first of all, earns you interest, earns us interest collectively, and then we share it in that proportion at the end of the year. And that becomes like a rainy day fund that you can access any day you need it in the future. That's important because Nigeria does not have a strong pension system, and you cannot invest if you don't have savings. Secondly, help me, a link has been dropped. I dropped the link myself in the chat box. If you want to be carried along on the collective investment, I will be happy to lead you as president of the society. And you fill the link, put your details in there, and we will take it up from there. Is there any other question again that I have not touched?
Okay, the other part of the question that says that he wants details on farm management and cooperative.
Okay, so at the cooperative level, like I mentioned, so the difference between what we are doing and what an individual is doing is that we go as the cooperative and go and sit down with I can go and sit down with the governor of the state now and say, Your Excellency, sir, my cooperative, even if we are just 100 people there, it is a cooperative. My cooperative is interested in investing in your state. We want 100 hectares of land. They will take me more seriously than if you go, even if you have more money than me. Why? Because there's corporate governance. And in global standards, we have something we call ESG, environmental, social, and governance compliance. So they know that this is not a one-man business where if the person dies, the whole project, or if the person becomes suddenly uninterested in the project again, the whole vision perishes. So we are able to, for example, as I speak with you, we are discussing with an institution for 200 hectares for a start. We are the ones who are actually supposed to just tell them what we want to do and when we want to start. 200 hectares. And because we are a cooperative, they see us as a social enterprise. Unlike if you go there and you register your name and say, my name is, let me use my good friend's name, Akinola Isaac Nigeria Limited. You will not, I know for a fact that you will not be taken as seriously as I will be taken, because I am representing a collective of people. And yeah, so that's the my response to how we are going in. And then when we go in, we're able to leverage on the resources of the institution. We rent some, they give us some, and we also, at the end of the year, as part of our social responsibility and fairness, we share a certain percentage of our revenue is dedicated to that institution as some sort of dividend or like a management honorarium, so to speak, because they are a public sector institution. They are not allowed to sell the land or anything, but we can give them some sort of honorarium back to the coffers of the institution. So everybody is working together for progress, and you can be a part of that. And as I mentioned, as some of you know, I've also been a technology person for the past 15 years. We have, in all our construction projects, for example, we deploy monitoring technologies there. This is not going to be different. They are already monitoring and surveillance technologies that we are deploying in this project, in our farm estates, that, for example, if you're an investor, you can tap into the database and monitor what is going on. Because the whole essence of cooperative is democracy and transparency. The money that I will use to feed my family is not what is not what is inside the cooperative. So I don't have any problem with being transparent with you. And there are also reporting standards. So whether I'm a nice person or I'm not a nice person, we are not depending on my personal moral strength to run the cooperative. There are existing governance framework that will determine the amount of information that you must have access to as the member of the cooperative. So even though you are in Dubai, you're in China, you're in Canada, you're anywhere, you would always get steady, consistent updates. Not because it's also because it's not a one-man business. We have a secretary, we have treasurer, we have legal officer, we have a supervisory board, a supervisory committee that has people there who are supposed to oversee the affairs of the cooperative. So you are coming into an existing system that you have not even necessarily paid for. And our membership fee is also friendly. You can check our website. And the link is not specifically for the cooperative alone. It's for, you will choose what you want in the options in the link. Just go through the link, take your time. You should be able to read where you are investing in. That's one thing I tell people. You are not going to put your money where you have not even read what they are telling you. So take your time to go through the link, see what the options are. And he said, what currency is this interest paid in? So you paid for the cooperative, the savings, key distinction. The savings is different from your investment in our projects. We have other projects outside the agri sector that we're working on. But for your savings, it is for the ease of administration, you put Naira into an account, then we convert at the back end into USD and warehouse it with the bank. I don't keep it. The secretary does not keep it. The management, the supervisory committee does not keep it. It is with a bank, and then they pay interest on it. And then the interest, obviously, on a USD saving is going to be USD. So over the long period of time, I mean, backstory, in 2020, one of the things that led me as a person to say, oh, let's start a cooperative and let's denominate it in USD was that in 2019, people were offering to sell me some land to sell some house. And I don't have a lot of time to manage this investment. So let me just buy USD. A senior colleague in the industry told me that the dollar is going to go up, and I bought it. And after that period, every year when we do like an annual audit in my family, we see how much of interest comes on top of that money. And I tell you that we're always happy about it. But guess what? We bought the USD at that time at 358. I will not tell you how much interest I have gained, but you can use your imagination to see how much interest has accrued over the past 4 years. Now, this is going to be the 5th year. So the interest is in USD. He said, how do the cooperative involve the members? So every project under the cooperative law, your savings is different from your project. So you can ask anybody who is familiar with cooperative. There's something we call the shares and savings, and there's also investment, and there's also projects. So for example, if you say, instead of me, you as a person going to drop your $10,000 in the bank where they will only pay you maybe 3%, if you put it under us as a separate investment that you collect at year end, you can earn better. That's something that we hope we will get to in the future. But first of all, that will be the first thing is to have a steady monthly savings and build that habit. Then the second one is, the same way we are able, if you join us, we will have your biodata. We will put you on a Telegram group that we have already created. The Telegram group has been existing since last year, before we even got a license for the cooperative. So you will be part of the Telegram group. As at this morning, I myself, as president, I still updated everyone on the conversations we're having with financial institutions. And I promised them that this week, the new week, we will make a decision on the bank that we're going to be warehousing our funds. You do not get that level of transparency in conventional financial organizations, financial fintech and investment companies. I will not want to mention names. They are not going to come and tell you that, oh, we are going to do this so and so bank, or we are considering so and so bank. At least 6 other executives know the name of the banks that we are talking to. They have the proposals that the banks have sent. They have, so even if anything happens tomorrow, we can provide proof that we went through many banks before we picked one in the best interest of the collective, as against just walking into the bank and saying, because I have a friend here, I'm just going to put everybody's money there. So that level of commitment and thoroughness is what most people cannot do for themselves, and you will get that as part of the cooperative. And if we have any project, whether it is real estate, it is agriculture, or whatever opportunity, I mean, somebody reached out to us for a project, even in making a movie. Should we consider such a project, we will announce it on the Telegram group, and you'll be able to decide if that project is for you. And that project, everybody can come together and invest if they are interested in that project. Otherwise, you can, oh, I'm not interested, or I'm not, it does not align with my own values as a person. For example, if we were interested investing in Nigerian breweries, as a Muslim, you can say you don't want to be a part of it. Some other person will say they are not, their religion does not forbid them. So there is plethora of choice for you to choose as we go on. And that's the same way we will be updating you on the Telegram group every time we are making a decision. I hope I have been able to answer your
Thank you so much.
Yeah, somebody asked the question, can an investor invest with you without being part of the cooperative? Just an amount. Well, the law of cooperative is participation, first of all. Your membership is superior to even the amounts that you're putting there. So you cannot invest with us at the moment without being a member of Rainy Day. In the future, when we want to have joint ventures, we will be able to, for investments that we are leading, we will let you know what the arrangement is. But if you do not want to be a part of the cooperative, and you want to say you want to set up a farm or something, then you should go and talk to, fill the form. Spacecube Development will reach out to you as an entity, which is distinct and separate from Rainy Day Cooperative Society. I hope I have answered your question, and I hope there is no question I have missed.
Thank you so much, sir. Yes, you've done justice to quite a number of questions. Questions are still coming in, and I am afraid that we will not be able to respond to them for the constraint of time. However, like I said, try to make sure you fill out the form. That way you can get in touch with us. Also, a phone number has been dropped here. Please do us the favor, just type your question and send them to the phone number. We'll get whoever is supposed to respond to you, and then we'll forward the responses to you. I'm just going to allow for Mr. Olale Ojo, the agronomist, that's our lead consultant, to respond to the question about details on farm management. So in like 2-3 minutes, sir, Mr. Olale, please, can you respond to the question that borders on farm management? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Bridget. So for farm management, there are quite a number of models that are available to be deployed. As we mentioned earlier, there's the option for you to farm on the farm estates that belongs to the cooperative. And even while on the farm estate, you could decide to say, guys, I have the time. I'm going to be a full-time farmer. So what I'm benefiting from you is the land, irrigation, the collective presence of everybody. I will take care of it myself. So you have the option to do that. There's also the option to say, guys, I don't want to be part of your farm estate, but I have my farm here. Can you come in to help with management? Again, this can be splitted into two. So we could be there to say we come in once every month, train your employees, follow up on what's they get an SOP and agronomic guides to follow through. They call on us when they have challenges. We provide you the full support to do that. And you could also say, I have my land, just come and do all you need to do to make sure that it works. So that there's also the option for us to then come in. We come in with our agronomists that will be on site, helping recruiting the farm workers that will work for you and do all of those things. And of course, there'll be agreed key metrics that we would follow through to say, okay, at the end of the season, we expect to be able to do this, and this. And this is what we expect from you to make sure that happens. So it all depends on what you want. If you want to sit on the farm estate and leave everything to us, you could also decide you want to be on the farm estate, but handle things by yourself and just get all your artillery services from us, irrigation, inputs, machineries, but you do your day-to-day running. And like I've also mentioned, it could also be that you have your farm and you can decide to say, I just need you to come in from time to time to provide me with the agronomic and technical support, or I want you to be there full time to get things going.
Thank you so much for that short and precise response. Yeah, so Mr. Odeni Lukman, you asked a question about poultry farms for rent or lease. We have lands available mainly for sales right now and maybe for long lease. But for further conversations, we don't exactly know what kind of lease you're talking about, because majorly what we do is sales of land. We don't exactly lease, but please send a message to the number, Bridget. Yes, that's my number there. You can send me a chat or call, place a call through. You can also, please also fill out the form. We would reach out to you either ways. Thank you so much for joining in. For every participant, I strongly believe that to a great extent you've been, permits me to use the word, schooled on what we mean when we say farm setup. However, if you have further questions, if you need clarity, you want to make further inquiries, do not hesitate to send us a direct message on any of our social media pages. Please fill out the forms like I earlier said. You can also send a chat or place a call through to the number that was sent. This session was recorded, and so we are going to be posting it on our YouTube page. Would put that information out on our social media page as well. Thank you so much, Snag Inspector. Thank you so much, Mr. Funsho Akinsoya. Thank you so much, Mr. Olawale Ojo. Thank you, Mr. Shegun. Mr. Olusegun Oshundino. Thank you, Mr. Toby Pepple. On this, I think having said all of this, we're going to call it a day. Thank you so much for joining in. Please fill out the forms and also send us a message if you need further questions. Thank you so much for tuning in.